Welcome to the Barry Trammell Show. We're in a very special location. We're in the office of the president of Oklahoma State University. Dr. Kayse Shrum joins us today. She's been on the job two and a quarter years, and she's joined us today. Kayse, welcome to the show, and thanks for giving us the time.
Well, thanks for having me.
Now, let's go back a little bit. July 1st, 2021. You're named the president of Oklahoma State. You assume the job of president of Oklahoma State University. We'll talk about whether it's your dream job, your excitement level, all those kinds of things. But to whatever extent that was the job, 3 weeks later, everything changes. And the Big 12 is faced with crisis. And you presidents had to come together. And a few weeks later, there was stability. 2 years later, now there's prosperity. The Big 12's completely changed and much stronger. Tell us about those early days of your presidency when you thought the job was going to be this, and then all of a sudden, here comes the meteor hitting your life.
Well, and that's kind of typical of leadership, right? You plan for things, and then the unexpected is what happens, and that's what you have to deal with in that moment. So I will say, I've had a lot of jokes with Chad Weiberg since then, saying we've spent so much time together in the first, 3 months, more probably than any AD spends in their career with their president, which is a positive thing for us. It was a very, I think, surprising event for us. But I think the conference came together. Obviously, we have new leadership in Brett Yormark. I believe the Big 12 is more stable now than it has ever been, which is great. We just navigated through that. We have a great group of presidents, and, we're very well together, and we've added and we're growing. And the conference, I think, is in a better place than what we anticipated, that July day. So I think, it's in a good trajectory, and I'm pleased with how we've navigated it. Obviously, anytime you have news like that, it's a surprise. There's risk associated with that. I think, you have to be mindful of that, and we'll continue to do, and thrive in the environment that we're in. And so,
is it still a little bit strange, like this year? On the athletic field, you're going to play Brigham Young. You're going to play Cincinnati. You're going to put here in Stillwater. You go to Central Florida. You go to Houston. Next year, here comes 4 more new faces. How much of an adjustment is just, the new faces, meeting new people,
right,
getting to working with a completely new set of colleagues?
So for me, it is not, I came on the job and immediately we started adding new people. So it has been, I think it's been fun for me to get to meet, new presidents and get to learn about their campuses. And I'm looking forward to visiting all of those universities. It is different. I think it will be something that it's a novelty. So I think people are going to enjoy the opportunity to go play different teams and develop different rivalries. And I'm excited to see how, that unravels, and, adding the 4 schools that we added, Arizona State, and Utah, Colorado. Those are going to be interesting games. And I think we're looking forward to seeing how that plays out.
Now, Mike Gundy is fond of telling us that it was always going to be fine. Everything was going to be great. Oklahoma State's going to be in great position. Turns out he was right. But if I'm running the university and this upheaval occurs, it seems like you'd have a lot of angst, a lot of concern, a lot of wonder about where do we go? How do we make sure this works out? Those first few weeks on the job, how difficult was that on you? Professionally, just knowing you've been handed this leadership role,
right,
and now this massive situation occurs, right? How taxing was that on you personally?
Yeah, well, I think it's always a stressful time. Anytime new roles are a transition, to have something like that probably play out in the very beginning is taxing. I will say that, as a university president, and at that time, I did make the comment that, I don't think it was the best thing for the entire state. I still stand behind that because I believe that, you mentioned it, as a university president, it's not just about a conference. It's much bigger than that. And for the state of Oklahoma, to have two R1 universities that are strong, that are recruiting in new students and growing a workforce, that adds to the prosperity of Oklahoma. That's the perspective that I'm, speaking of. And so I think time will tell how all that plays out. I feel really good about where we're at today. And I feel like through that process, you face challenges, and I've certainly been in other roles where, serving as the cabinet secretary during, the pandemic, that's challenging and stressful. But I mean, you grow through that as a leader, and you get to know people, and I think we're really in a good place.
You mentioned, speaking out when you did. It seemed like the OSU family really rallied around you. A lot of people knew all about Kayse Shrum, leading the medical school and all those things. And then you're named president in the spring, effective July 1st. The people who were really interested read up on you. They knew a lot about you. But it seemed like when you stood up and said, hey, this, you sort of spoke in a provocative way, it seemed like the OSU family really rallied behind you. Did you feel more support and the sort of a kinship with the Cowboy Nation after that event?
Oh, I think so. I mean, there's nothing like a good crisis to bring people together. I think the OSU family is, loyal and true to the core. But I think you get to know people in their leadership role sometimes, their character and what they stand for during those moments. And that probably gave them more of a glimpse into, my character, who I am. And I think that the Cowboy family is looking for someone that, is passionate about Oklahoma State and will stand up for Oklahoma State and, lead us in the future. And I think that did kind of bring everybody together. And so I think however, you can't always determine what is going to bring about, momentum or cohesion, but I think that most definitely did for the Cowboy family.
I was surprised when I've talked to university presidents. I'm usually surprised at this answer because my general impression is you worry about all kinds of things, academics, donor relations, all the things you do worry about. But athletics is sort of over here on the side. You don't really have to worry about it much. And then they always correct me and say, it's a big part of my job. What percentage of your job is related to athletics?
Oh, I mean, it at OSU, it really is a part. I mean, if you look at our strategic plan that we put together, athletics is embedded within that. I couldn't really give you a percentage of time that I spend on it, but it is an important part of the university. And I think it's integral in ways that perhaps maybe the fan doesn't see. And so I spend a significant amount of time with Chad, and of course, all the changing landscape of college athletics requires more time. It's not just what happens here at Oklahoma State, it's also at the conference level. And then, of course, what's happening just in general. So it does take up probably more time than I had anticipated when I came into the job from a leadership and management perspective. And then, of course, there's always activities all across campus that, I have the privilege to attend and watch our student athletes compete. So it does probably take up more time than I would, than I think most people actually would anticipate. And because I would agree, I think that for the fan, it kind of looks like here's the university and there's athletics and people come and go to games, and it's fun, and it's great. We love that it brings everyone together and brings people to campus, but it is much more integrated into the university and the operations of the university.
You said it you said fans might not realize how integral athletics are to the university. Well, what are some of those ways?
Yeah. Well, so when you really think about your brand as a university, most of the time people will see that through athletics for the first time. Many times kids are on campus to go to games before it's even time for them to go to college. Their experience with Oklahoma State University is through athletics. You think about playing in a bowl game or being on television, and you think about how could you don't have a marketing budget that would cover what it would cost to run a commercial during that time frame. Think about the Fiesta Bowl. So in many ways, it either creates momentum, and it's a front porch where people see your brand for the first time. It's also, a way that donors get engaged. When your fan base is excited, everybody's excited. They want to continue to give, and they want to continue to see the entire university grow. And so it really is, a way that attracts students. A healthy athletics program can, it's the rising tide raises all ships. It raises your academic standards. It raises your athletic standards. So it's very much tied together.
And of course, your tide athletics goes far past what you're doing at OSU. You grew up a softball player.
Yes.
Went to Connors State and played softball.
Yes.
Let me ask you, how did being an athlete shape you as a young person and as a woman and now as a university president?
Well, I always say it's the reason why I'm here today where I am, because my desire to go to college was really based off of playing, softball. That was a goal I set for myself. And, that was when I got there, realizing, okay, this is my opportunity. And, of course, my parents were, they were wonderful and instilled a great work ethic in me. And I remember, my parents dropping me off and my dad saying, you need to work hard on the field and in the classroom. This is not free. Someone's paying for it. And so I think, it obviously is what brought me to have many opportunities in life. But the lessons that I learned in athletics, I think, have really made me successful, learning to set goals for myself very early on, competing and learning how to win graciously and how to lose and get up the next day and get back to work, and, be resilient in those moments. I think all of those things, from, wanting to surround yourself with the very best people, even if they're better than you want those people on your team because you want to win at the end of the day. You want your team to win. I think all of those things really have shaped me in my career, and where I am today as a leader and as a person. And I'm very grateful for that opportunity. I think athletics can teach you a lot as a person.
How much did you connect with current student athletes at OSU because you were a collegiate softball player?
Yeah. Well, I try to connect with them as much as I can. I enjoy spending time with them. I think I understand the challenges and how hard it is to do what they do every day. And I think in general, just having kind of grown up in the athletic world, my husband played college football as well. I feel a little kindred spirit with them. And so I enjoy the opportunities that I get to spend with them. I also, I think, enjoy the opportunity to say, you're learning great things here. What are you going to do with this, in the future in your life? Because I think I have that perspective today that I didn't have when I was where they are.
You went to Connors State, then you go on to Northeastern State University, Arkansas, get your medical degree from OSU.
Yes.
You went into private practice, and then you migrate back to the OSU Medical School in Tulsa. What drew you back to OSU, and why were you so successful there to the point where now you're leading the entire university?
I really loved, I loved the teaching aspect. So as a chief resident, I had the opportunity to teach medical students when they would be on the pediatric service. And I really enjoyed that interaction. I went out into private practice and I loved that. I loved interacting with my patients, but I felt like there was, something missing that I really enjoyed. I enjoyed the academic setting. I enjoyed doing research. I enjoyed teaching. And so I came back to the university for that. And I think, I always laugh just a little bit because when I came back as a department chair, I really didn't understand kind of the structures of academics. I was just, there, wanted to see patients, wanted to teach and, make a positive impact. And shortly after I arrived, our department chair had stepped down. And so they asked me if I would serve as the interim. Well, I didn't know at the time, they just really want you to be the interim. It's like, steer the ship. Don't, just hold on to the steering wheel. Don't go anywhere. Just keep it going straight. I didn't know that. And so I thought, well, this is my chance to fix all the things that I think need to be fixed for the next person who comes in. And that was really kind of my first entrance into leadership. And obviously, I ended up becoming the department chair later. But I always laugh and say I didn't realize, they usually ask the person who they don't expect to have the job or, want the job to be the interim. And so that was really my entrance into the medical school and leadership. And I found I had kind of a greater impact there. And that just kind of led. I think I'm always looking to say, how can I make things better? How can I support other people being successful? And, I love Oklahoma State. So I think it should be the best it can be. And I think everyone should love it. And I think just that passion has kind of led me to where I am today.
When did you first think about the possibility of being the president at OSU? And when you first were approached about the university's interest in you, was it a great opportunity? Was it a challenge that you were worried about? What was your mindset when you thought about being the president here in Stillwater?
Well, people, throughout kind of the later years of my time at CHS, every once in a while somebody would say, you need to think about being the president of Oklahoma State. And I'd just laugh. I really enjoyed what I did. And I didn't give it all a lot of thought. And then obviously Burns announced that he was retiring, and those conversations started to kind of pick up, like, are you going to apply? And I was nominated to be the president. And, I really felt like I probably would not have pursued being a university president somewhere else. That really wasn't on my, my bucket list. But this was such a unique opportunity. I love the land-grant mission, the concept of access and research that impacts society, extension, all of those things. I feel personally connected to in some way. And so it was a really intriguing, opportunity for me. I think it's always hard when you really love what you're doing and you feel connected to it. And I've been at the Center for Health Sciences with the medical school for so long. But it was one of those chances, I think, to have a greater impact and to be able to be in a place where I can, do more for Oklahoma State University. So I was excited about it. And it's been fun. It's a different role. I tell people all the time, when I decided to go into medicine, I thought that was perfect career and I'd never do anything else. And I loved it the minute I did it. The same thing at the Center for Health Sciences. And now I think this is the best place for me. I couldn't imagine being anywhere else right now.
Let's shift gears a little bit and ask you about a couple of big picture items that are forefront in athletics today. The NIL situation, right, which is the barn doors open, it's not closing. How does OSU navigate that? In terms of this, nobody's printing new money. The money's got to come from the same places it's been coming from, but now there's this desire to support the athletes now that you can by the rules. How do you navigate that? That you need more money from the people that've been giving you a lot of money already. What do you see the future is in terms of just donor relations and NIL?
Yeah. Well, I think it's challenging, right? I mean, it is. I believe in the concept of the NIL and the manner that it was created, and obviously, I think I think about it a little bit like when we introduced the iPhone to society, right? It's exciting. But you really don't know the impacts that it's going to have and how we have to adjust life to that. And I think that's kind of what we're experiencing with NIL. We have to figure that out. And I think, the one thing that I know about Oklahoma State's, donors is that they're always willing to rally around whatever the needs are for OSU. But I think it's a time period where people are adjusting to the concept of NIL. And I think all of college athletics is trying to figure out how do you manage, that. People in general, I think some people are very passionate. I mean, you look across the university, some people are very passionate about the College of Engineering, or they're passionate about College of Agriculture. I think the same thing will be true of NIL. Some people are, love this idea and get behind it. And I think connecting them to student athletes is the way to do that. And others aren't. And so we just have to kind of navigate through it and figure out how we manage that as a university, how our fan base and our donors come around NIL. And I imagine that's going to continue to evolve. And I do believe it will continue to evolve because there's a lot of attention on this. I think there's a call for transparency and, oversight and other things around NIL and, of course, portal and all of those things. So it's just an ever-changing time, and we're going to have to adjust to that as it comes.
Well, we're running out of time, but let's finish with rapid fire. Let me throw some quick questions at you, and you just hit me with the first thing that popped into your mind. Favorite moment as OSU president?
Winning the Fiesta Bowl.
What was that like?
Oh, that was fun. I mean, that was one of those games where it didn't start out very fun, but, you believe in the players and you just keep watching this. And, that was really my first bowl game as president. And so that was a great experience. That set the bar pretty high.
Yep. Coolest person you've met as OSU president?
Oh, coolest person. Garth Brooks.
Cool. Hard to top that one.
Yeah.
Not counting OSU facilities, favorite venue you've got to go athletically as the OSU president?
Let's see. You got me when you said it was Lynn Pickens. That's one of my favorite places. Probably we've gone to do a lot of the Big 12 at the baseball stadium. We've done the wrestling that baseball venue in Dallas.
Globe Life. Yeah.
Globe Life. That's I think been a fun place. But it's interesting. We've done different sporting events there, so that's kind of I think been a fun place to visit.
How many athletic events? Not a precise number, but how often do you get to go to athletic events just to be seen and be the president of OSU?
As many as are available. I mean, probably during the spring. I mean, I go to every sporting event. I try to get to, every team that competes at least once, and I've done that. And then, when I think I can't do any more, Derek comes home and says, "We gotta go to Wolves." I mean, I remember. I always laugh because there's always a reason. Like it's this win, you can't miss this win or whatever. He loves sports, I do too, and we love supporting the student athletes. So anytime we get a chance, we try to, even if we just stay for a little bit, we pop in.
And finally, something about this job that would surprise OSU people. Something that they don't know about this job, but would surprise them if they did know.
Probably, I'd say, because it surprised me, that the time commitment and that it's every day of the year. It's not just semesters. I always laugh and say I didn't know that university presidents don't sleep. But I would say just the time commitment and probably the vast array of things that you deal with as a university president. That would probably be surprising to people.
Well, fantastic. Well, Kayse, thanks for joining us, and hey, continued success with your career, and good luck to the Cowboys and the Cowgirls.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Yes.
Thanks to our sponsors, 3-9's Technology, Next Generation Roofing, Weedman Lawn Service, the Oklahoma Ford Dealers, and 988 Mental Health Services. Stay tuned for my show next week, and remember to subscribe. YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your shows.